This is a brief history of the Anunnaki and yada yada yada. Okay, so without going into all the stuff that we just talked about with the energy and everything like that. So, okay. There's a planet a little bit past Pluto called Nibiru that we've now known as Planet X, and there's a race of beings from that planet named the Anunnaki. We know this because there are tablets written like stone tablets called the cuneiform tablets that they have found from ancient Sumeria, and that's like, now it's today, it's Iraq, it's Israel, like, I don't know, all that general Middle Eastern area. Like, that's where Mesopotamia used to be, basically. And ancient Sumeria was long time ago, before Egypt and everything. There's tablets talking about all this. That's how we know it. I'm not just creating this really crazy story. Like, it's in a storybook, but the storybook is stone. Long story short, hundreds of thousands of years ago on Nibiru, their troposphere, atmosphere, was starting to have holes in it because of radiation, because of the orbit that they go around the sun. It gets really close to the sun at some points and really far at other points. But when it gets close, it gets really close. It's almost like on a big, almost like a NASCAR speedway type of shape. And they started having a hole in the atmosphere, and they needed to find a way to protect it, and the best protection, even we know this as a society in 2013, is gold is the best protection for radiation poisoning and radiation protection. All the astronauts, when they go to the moon, gold you see that gold paper everywhere. Yeah. So basically, the Anunnaki needed to find a way to do this. They had just exiled this one guy, and I think they exiled him to Earth, or he went to Earth in his exile, and he found this gold, and he thought that was going to be his, his coming back, his welcoming back thing. And basically, I don't know if he had an opportunity to mine the gold first or what he thought. I don't know. He was exiled, so he must have fucked up somewhere. But so the king of Nibiru, a guy named Anu, sent his two sons, Enlil and Enki. Enki, think of scientific, more of a doctor kind of guy, but he was more so on the scientific inclination. And then Enlil was more of like a military, general kind of guy. And he sent Enlil and Enki to Earth to lead, with a couple brothers and sisters, but they were the two leaders of everything, and started mining this whole thing. Well, I think actually Enki went first by himself, and then Enlil came or something. But anyways, at the end of the day, they both were there, and they started this mining thing. At that time on Earth, the only type of things that were living human-wise were Homo erectus, which is like cavemen, and not very smart, very small brains. And I don't know if it was a different species or it was part of Homo erectus, but there was a group of people called Igigi, and they were native to Earth. And basically, Enlil and Enki, they enslaved them to mine the gold from nowadays South Africa is where they were mining a lot of the gold, and also apparently from the ocean. And you gotta ask yourself, what kind of fucking technology are they using to mine gold out of the water? And there are hundreds of thousands of these portals today found in South Africa. This dude named Michael Tellinger is leading this search of South Africa, and he's finding these sites, and it is mind blowing. And he's literally having these talks, and he's like, how is no one here with me? How is no one I feel like I just discovered fire, and no one's wants some. I just discovered fire, people. And he's talking about it, and what is that?
Oh, it's just a bunch of them going on.
So he found this place called Adam's Calendar, and it's all perfectly aligned with north and south and east and west, but it's very slightly tilted, and then you calculate how much the tectonic plates would have shifted since Mesopotamia, and now it's the perfect amount. So it's almost like a perfect dating system of how old it really is. And anyways, Michael Tellinger, he's leading a lot of the shit on this stuff, as far as where they were mining from and stuff. But so they were mining gold, and the Igigi were a race of these people that were mining, and they were slaves basically, and they started having this uproar, and I don't know if they were rioting and stuff, but they were basically we're not fucking, you're not paying us. I guess they were a little more civilized than And basically, Enlil and Enki they're like, we need a. Well, first off, they called their dad Anu, and he came into like council and figure out what the hell to do. But they ended up seeing like, okay, we need to upgrade the Homo erectus because they're like, dumb monkey people, cavemen. We need to upgrade them. So Enki, the scientific one, he literally goes into science mode with his sister, I think, Nenhartseg, I forgot her name, and they have test subjects, and they literally genetically modify the DNA of Homo erectus, and they have Homo sapien, point 1, humans, talking, walking, and you can literally go back and prove this because there's no way to prove like how we evolved from those monkey people to where we are now. Like there should have been a solid like million years of that progression and bones to prove it, like bones in the ground and like archaeologists discovering these bones, but no one's found any. It just seems like we had this like, hey, how's it going? Oh, fire's great, guys. Oh my gosh, the wheel? Did you guys know that the wheel? Like we just evolved so super in very small time. Is because someone genetically modified our DNA pool, our DNA strands. And this will make sense why in a second. So that was Homo sapien point 1 is what they came up with, but they couldn't reproduce, so then they had to have Homo sapien point 2. So they had a little more adjusting, and they put him in this test ground. It was like a garden or a forest kind of place called Eden. Eden. The Garden of Eden.
Oh, yeah.
So they had 2 test subjects. So they put them in it. Enlil, the war-inclined one, says, nobody eat any of this fucking food, none of this shit. Do not eat it. It'll kill you. Trust me. Now remember, Enlil is the military one, and Enlil wants slaves. Enki, he's kind of just created these people. He's a scientist. He feels he's a little more gentle. He's like a gentle soul or whatever. He says, you're not going to die if you eat the plants, but you will become conscious human beings, and it'll almost be like you're kind of like us, to where you can decipher right and wrong. So it will fuck you up a little bit, at least as you are, but it's not going to kill you. He's lying. That's a very much different take on God and Satan. Because it almost seems like how we've been depicted, the character of Satan is like the worst person ever. But if you think about it, this guy, Enlil, who is depicted... Oh yeah, by the way, it's important to know that Enlil, son of Anu, and Enki, son of Anu, Enki has another name, and again, these people, you have to remind yourself, these people lived on an average of like 100,000 years.
Wow.
And their term as council members was 3,600 years, which is where we get our eon from. It's 3,600 year cycle. But they would live long time. So in different human cultures, we only live 100 years tops, right? So they probably are known by many different people, by many different names, right? Enlil is Zeus. Enki?
Just got like a little chill.
Enki is Poseidon. And they have other names too, but like those are the main ones. And then basically a couple hundred years, I don't know if it's thousands of years later, but later, Enlil was monotheistized or monotheized, whatever. Like they made him one god, because it was like some kind of encampment of like some, I don't know if it was Jews or like Jesuits or I don't know who they were, but they were like in some kind of encampment, I think, and they were like going through these scribes, and they basically, I don't remember what the reason was of why he became the one god, but it was never one god.
Right.
There's just a family of like beings that came down, and the literal translation from Annunaki is those who came from above, and those who came from heaven, and heaven can be translated from Nibiru, those who came from Nibiru, or Annunaki, and then Ki, which is sons of Anu. And it's literally like, it just makes so much more sense than there's a snake in a garden, and then some bitch came out of a dude's rib. Like, what? Doesn't make sense. This makes so much more sense to me. There was no giant... Think about how ridiculous this sounds. A giant boat that you're going to put hundreds of different animals on. You're going to get a giraffe, rhinos, everything. What? How do you wrangle rhinos?
Right.
Noah also goes by the name of Altrahasis and Ziasudra. He was a king of a city called Sur. I think it might have been a different city. He was 600 years old at that time, and it was not a boat. It was a large grouping of DNA capsules, or it might have been just DNA codes for these species. Because DNA is essentially just coding, and it can be traced down all the way to binaural coding, which is zeros and ones. So think about the most elaborate computer program. Now you're looking at those computer programs. Think about the most elaborate computer program to make a cat, make an animal. And we know because we're doing it now. We're genetically modifying things. We cloned a sheep.
Right.
We know it's not science fiction. This can be done. And this Michael Tellinger guy is discovering in South Africa, they didn't take all this. Where's all the gold? Where's all these people that hundreds of thousands? Like, there's not hundreds. We find bones, but here and there. We're talking about millions of people, slaves, and buildings, and all this. Like, where is all that at? These places, like he'll go into these these sites that he's finding, these ancient mines and stuff in South Africa, and all technology is just fucked. No signals. They bring in super professionals that monitor earthquake tones and stuff. Computers get ruined. No signal. Just complete electromagnetic disruption and just eruption and malfunctioning. He believes that and then they have really spiritual energetic healers come in, and they feel it out, and they can measure stuff just with their bodies. Our bodies are basically tuning forks, and those who are connected to that can really feel it. These little holes are vortexes, and this is also confirmed because Nikola Tesla, which is we're not using Edison's technology right here. We're using Tesla's technology. Edison found conductive current or something, a different current, but the one that we're using in our wall right now, that's actually Tesla's invention because it's called alternative current, AC power. You know when they say the AC thing?
Oh yeah.
That's Tesla, I think, unless I got it backwards. But Tellinger found that they weren't flying ships and shit. They were teleporting. And not teleporting as it goes to frequency. It goes to literally change the radio station that you're listening to, and you'll change what you see. You'll change where you are. Imagine Earth is literally a station. And you're I'm ready to go to Pluto. You're changing. Now remember, if you want to do that, you got to be in tune. We're not in tune like they used to be. And how they were staying so alive for so long, is so it's found in your mitochondria, or in your mitochondria, in all your cells, in all living things, are something called telomerase. And red oaks in California, they don't age. They'll never die. Red oaks will never die unless they're blown over by a hurricane or killed or something. But they won't die unless they're killed. But we die like this. What the hell's going on? Their telomerase don't age or some shit like that. But aging has to do with telomerase. Otherwise, we're constantly procreating and excreting and dead skin cells. We're renewing all the time. How come eventually we die? That doesn't make sense. If trees can live forever. They were ingesting these Nibiru, the ancient Annunaki people, and Noah, Altrahasis. They were ingesting something called starfire gold, which is gold in some type of mutation of gold, and ingested. I don't know if they drank it. I don't know what they did. Inserted in their bloodstream, and it prolongs your telomerase. It is, I don't know. I heard it was said that Enlil is still here. Zeus is still here. I think that makes a lot more sense, and it makes a lot of sense if you believe in Illuminati, if you believe in someone being in control of something.
Right.
It makes a lot of sense because Zeus needs those slaves. Zeus is not a nice guy. He's probably the son of Hercules. Hercules was a real guy, and he's a lot more like Jesus than people give him credit. Jesus was a real guy. Jesus was also had other names though, and he was found in other cultures, and they found him, like he popped up because he was gone for 18 years. He was gone from wherever he was at, I guess, where he was born, from like, you know, between when he came back and like did his whole pop and, you know, shit, change the world and shit. He was gone, and it was said that he went to like the Himalayas, and he was gone in like the mountains regions of like I don't know, like the whatever countries are over there nowadays, but like living with monks and shit, and just doing a bunch of other stuff, going to the woods, and you know, what the fuck you do for 18 years? That's the important 18. Your 20s are important. That's when you find yourself. So you're probably testing some shit. You're probably experiencing some shit. You know, and Jesus was, well, you know, experiencing life. So long story short, it's just like this is what I've been studying for the past month, and it completely like obliterated everything that I've. Again, you say, oh wow, it goes against everything I know or everything I believe. Well, why do you believe it? Someone told you this. It's just a book said it anyway. And then if you look into who wrote that book, well, King James wrote the book which we're referring to, the one that says God created man in his own image of himself. The Old Testament, the real book, the real Bible, if you want to go to the Bible is the almighty book, which is a great book, but it just, you know, the new version just doesn't seem to be that great. The old version, the Old Testament, said we created man in our own image of ourself. It was plural. And at the end, in the book of Revelation, it didn't say the end of the world. It said there will be a day of judgment, and there will be a day of reckoning, and there will be an end of an age. Age means different than world. World could be like, oh no, it's going to die, and we're going to... Age just means time, which is what the Mayan calendar said. And on December 21st, 2012, I think it's the date that I think it's the age of Pisces or age of whatever ended, and now we're in the age of Aquarius. So a new age literally just began. And all this Annunaki stuff is coming up. You got a TV show called Ancient Aliens on the on History Channel. You have all this unlimited access to all knowledge, i.e. the internet. It just sure does seem like we're in an age of enlightenment. A new chapter of the history book, that a lot of shit that people have not wanted us to find out came out. In 2007, the Pope of the church in the what's the place called, the Italian joint, whatever. That's gonna bother me. Whatever, he made a statement in a newspaper, a local newspaper. He said it doesn't go against the beliefs of the church to believe in extraterrestrials. Why would a priest, why would a pope, a man, and also make a press release about it? And it was also interesting timing because we just put out 2012, August 15, 2012, I think, we had a rover land on Mars named Curiosity. And I was like, oh shit, we're about to find, well, we've obviously already found it. It's too much. They've been lying to us for a long time. Yeah. I think they're about to come out and say and admit to the fact that we have been in communication with extraterrestrials. Extraterrestrials real. One in particular species, different races. There's different, and they're not all like, in our perception of time and space is all off. Like, this other guy was talking about how, he went to Jupiter on a meditation because he tuned into Jupiter's frequency. And there's a race of around 8 or 9 foot tall beings that live in Jupiter. But it's not on Jupiter. It's in Jupiter. Jupiter is like a housing frequency place. And they're like purple, and they have like gold-plated chest plates and stuff. They're very purple. They're like 8 or 9 feet tall. And then you go back to the Bible and they talk about remember David and Goliath? Hold on. The Bible admitted to giants. 9, 10 feet tall? Wow. Where the fuck are those people? What happened to them? Where are those bones? We found those bones. They just don't want to talk about them. The Nephilim were a real thing, and according to this guy who had this experience, he's like, oh yeah, they're on Jupiter. It's an ancient race that still inhabits Jupiter. Yeah. Why were all those statues so enormous and shit in Egypt, and And then also it tells you what time The guy who really came and like did a lot of shit was Thoth, who is the god of coincidentally the moon god of ancient Egypt. And he came and he did a lot. Like he taught a lot of people how to read and write, give them language and a lot of understanding of like the workings of the universe. What was I just gonna say? I was bringing him up for something. I forgot the reason I was just mentioning Thoth. Oh yeah, and then that's why Thoth made the Sphinx and put a lion's head on it or whatever. Doesn't it have like a lion head? Or it's a lion's body, that's it. Yeah, because it was built in the age of Leo.
Wow.
And it was commemorating the time at which he built it. And then that was his head, I guess, or whatever. I don't know. But I remember that Leo thing. But like all this shit, man, it's just like, it's the classic stories and myths that we've been taught to believe as myths. They're real stories.
Yeah.
They've been mysticized and mystified and made almost like designed so that we won't believe them. But if you also think about it, what did Enlil and Enki say from the get-go? Enki said, if you eat this, you're going to be like us. They were saying like us as gods. In the Bible it says we designed us to be in our own. So we're really supposed to be gods. So like why Kanye's so angry and shit, and it's like why he's saying this and why people don't want us to say this, and you know, what would Jesus do? You can think what he would do, but you can't be like him. And it's like it really goes into the suppression of the human being as a creature, that they want us to be slaves. They don't want us to be gods, but we were designed to be gods.
Otherwise it's totally just...
Yeah. That's why he wanted me to record this, because I told him that and his mind exploded. But, so, I'm saying all this to encourage you to, you're designed to be a god. So the more every day that you sit and fuss and moan about hangnails and shit, it's like, fuck man, I'm supposed to be a god, like hangnails? But it's just one of the seeds. It's just one of the seeds to plant. And again, like, allow it to only just intrigue you and look up stuff. And, you know, I'm glad that I found Moon and everything. And even there's one of the sons of Enlil that apparently came and, like, started, like, a bunch of... He made everybody aware of what they were supposed to do. And he was like, you guys need to do this. You guys need to do that. And his name was Nanar Sin. I don't know, I feel like people have heard that name, Nanar Sin. But he was the moon. He was the god of the moon. And he was the son of Enlil. Apparently he was really bad, though, so I don't want to say I am Nanar Sin. But the moon essentially came and told everybody what they're supposed to be doing. So, like, that's what I would love to do. I would love for us to be like, yo, y'all are creators. Like, y'all, even Tyler the Creator. Why would you put your name as Tyler the Creator? It's like, that's, you know, that's what we're designed to be. God didn't create us in his image of himself or themselves physically, obviously. Look at us, look at me and Willie, look at me and whoever. It doesn't look like, no one looks alike.
Right.
So the physical thing's bullshit.
Right.
So in what image? What do you mean? Designed us in how? If you're saying you're a God and you designed us to be like you, doesn't that mean we're supposed to be? I think that we can walk on water. I think that we can also manipulate matter. I think that we can teleport. I think that we can levitate. I think that we can use telekinesis. But it takes a long time because all that shit is asleep in our DNA. It's a long, hard process to wake it up.